welcome to my channel. This is Jim from Sketching with Jim, and I'm glad you could join me today. I'm going to do a little bit of a sketchbook tour of sketches I've done on site, on plein air. There was some interest shown in seeing these, so I thought I'd take a look through my old sketchbooks from last year. I'm not that organized, so I don't have one dedicated sketchbook, so I picked and chose ones that I thought would be interesting for the viewers, and I hope you enjoy it. Start this 2024 sketchbook tour with this drawing that I made in Perth, a local town close to us. These sketches are done on a 4x6 Master's Touch drawing pad, 80-pound weight. I really come to like this size. It's just the right size to hold in your hand, and if you wanted to do a larger picture like this, you can use both sides. Now these sketches were done in February, so for the most part I was sitting in the car because it was still quite cool. So I'd find little convenient places to park in the little town and just sketched what I saw. On the left is still in Perth, and I kind of like the way this little church came out. I tend to do like vignettes of pictures. I don't fill the whole page. The one on the right side though, we had gone south to Florida. I put a few shells that I'd collected on the table and drew those. We're again back in Perth, just a street scene. This is on our way down south into South Carolina, and we usually stop at Cracker Barrel restaurants. We travel in our little camping trailer, our little trillium. And this is a rest area on the way down, and just did a fast sketch. This is when we visited Foxfire Museum, put together by the kids who made the Foxfire books back in the 70s, I think it was. And I just went around and drew the various buildings that they'd put together, preserved. This one I wasn't too happy about. The perspective was off on the roof line and the ridge line. So every time I look at it, I cringe. One of those things that you know it's wrong. I still wanted to show you that. And these are a couple of other buildings in that museum. Some are better than others. Some I look at after and think I could have done them better, but that's just the way of sketching outdoors. You just capture the moment. This one from the campsite I liked, of the water, and I put geese on there just to remind me of the moment. But I like the textures on the trees and everything on that one. I like how that came out. So I was sitting in the campsite, just relaxing and doing that. This is another heritage place. I kind of like this one. I sat on a stump, a log stump, and drew these. We drove around to different wildlife preserves and everything. We were looking for animals and birds, but couldn't find any, so I just sat in the car and drew this tree, which captured my interest. And I really liked the way this came out. Very simple, just with the ink. And as I'm traveling, I keep little notes on the pages too, just to remind me where I was, my thoughts at the time. And we went back to camp, and on one of our walks, collected the various nuts falling from the trees and a couple of shells from the beach area. And I just set them on the table in front of me and drew them. It was actually my birthday, so it was a beautiful spot to be, next to a big lake and just drawing and relaxing. And I believe this is on the way back home, and we stopped at Cracker Barrel again and had Probably supper this time, because you can actually park in the parking lot of the Cracker Barrel with your trailer and stay overnight. We usually eat there as well. It's always a good experience there. That's a few of the customers. I did a really fast sketch of eating at a table across the way. Now we're back home in Ontario, and March 21st apparently. I went for a day of sketching in Almont and stopped at McDonald's. Parked on the street and drew the main street of Almont. Seems like I'm always parked behind a Toyota for some reason, so I wrote that down on my notes too. This is on just as you're leaving Almont toward the west to where we live. A church and a park area. And then just a little way from where we live, stopped by the side of the road and drew this farm. I liked how this came out. Barns and farms are always a good subject. Then we went east to the East Coast, and along the way we stayed in hotels and motels, and I was in the mood for some black and white drawings at the time with my Fude pen. This is at a restaurant in St. Andrews, New Brunswick. And then this is walking around St. Andrews. They had some really nice heritage buildings. And like I said, I was into the mood of the black and white line and some darker black areas. And I thought they were coming out quite well, so I kind of continued that. This is a block house down near the ocean. Very simple, but I liked how this was going. Almost comic bookish. It's another hotel room we stayed in. Clothes thrown on a table and a microwave. Sometimes the simplest things can make interesting sketches. And then we made it to Grand Manan Island, where we were staying for the week. I drew the whale in there. Just I didn't see it, as I was drawing, but I wanted to put it in there for memory's sake. This is the little village of Seal Cove, very close to where we were staying on the island, and some old sardine canning factories, no longer in use. And again, another drawing in Seal Cove. I've drawn this one multiple times, this scene, and just sitting there drawing it on the spot was kind of nice. I left out a lot of houses and trees and everything in the background. I thought just to simplify it. These are huge basalt pillars. Put a little bit of blue in there for the ocean. At the same area, this is the lighthouse at the end. Southern Cross Lighthouse. See, it's good to write these things down next to these drawings, so you forget the names. There's another Whitehead Island that we go across to on the little tiny ferry. And this building, this old power building, we were waiting for the ferry. I drew that. And then we were on Whitehead Island, and these two boats, they've been there since we've ever come to Grand Manan, and I drew them again. And this is another old fish building. And again, with the roof perspective, I had that a little bit off, so every time I look at it, it bothers me, but it was nice to sit there and draw and have the memory anyway. This one I really liked. We were waiting for the ferry to come back over and to go back to the main island. And I just sat and sketched this, and I was quite proud of myself because I had 15 minutes. There was a time limit there. So back at the cottage, I picked up this half a lobster shell on the beach, so I sat him on the table and drew him with a map there just for memory's sake. and a little scene outside from the porch, right on the ocean. It was a really nice week up there. And then on the way back, going through Quebec, there's a little motel we stayed at. So again, I was trying the black and white drawing idea with the Fude pen. Really kind of like that. This is more like a negative kind of painting or drawing, but I kind of liked how that came out. I find myself getting a little bit more creative these days. This is another sketchbook that I picked up, and I did a few sketches in it outdoors. It's a Rodeo Touch. It's a very smooth surface, and I'm still not quite sure if I like it or not. Takes the pen well though. The first drawing I did, perspective wasn't that great, so I did this one with pencil underline first to get the perspective, and then I did the pen on top. After doing that one, I decided to do a little bit of pencil, and I kind of like how this one came out too. It's always nice to be flexible when you're out and about with your drawing equipment. And this is after I picked up the brown ink, and I'm in Carlton Place. I stopped for lunch, had a nice burger, wrote down the name of the place so I remember. And then I sat around different areas of the town and drew the scenes. I kind of like how it came out in the brown ink. Just took my time and relaxing. And this is when I scootered down to near Peterborough, Ontario, to the Canadian Canoe Museum. I love canoes and I love the shape of them, and this was just a great opportunity to sit and draw. And this is a canoe from the iconic Canadian canoeist Bill Mason, and I was really honored just to be able to sit there and draw that canoe in real life. I did paint it when I got home, so I just did drawing there, but I really like how that came out. The memory of it is nice too. And this is where I just went for a walk, I think, one day, and used the Fude pen again, and just do a simple subject like this, just a tree and some background shading, and kind of like that. It was a little camping trip I did on my scooter, again with the brown ink, and I like how that came out. And I just colored the tent just to get some color in there, near the campsite, next to the water. And again, another little simple tree drawing. And on the way back, I stopped at Madawa, and there's a little museum there, really nice little museum. So I sat in there and sketched a few of the displays. Drawing in and on site, and then add color back at the motel. And heads outside in the park near the museum, and it's facing the museum, a big statue of Big Joe Muffero, which Stompin' Tom Connors sings about if you're interested in that. And there's a little church in the main street.